Okay, let's get started and let me tell you about my million lifetimes in one and how I've changed careers and found my purpose. As I get ready for a normal day, I work from home. I'm an energy healer and yoga teacher, so usually pretty laid back. But anyway, join me as I go through my skincare routine and I tell you a little bit more about my story and how I have been searching for meaning, searching for work that makes sense to me and is rewarding to me, and how I actually finally found it. And if this YouTube video is not super polished, I'm really sorry. I am just getting started. So, any constructive feedback is very much welcome, in terms of like sound or video quality. But it is my intention to, I guess, perhaps inspire you. It's too pretentious, but I hope that by sharing my story, I can show you or prove to you that it is possible, to change paths and to actually find something that is meaningful to you. And actually finding purpose is takes a little bit of inner work, but it's possible. And if I can do it, you can do it too. So yeah, please bear with me. As I've mentioned, I'm new to this, but hopefully what I say makes sense and I'm able to make justice to this story, because it's got a lot of whirlwinds and changes and pivots, lots of frustration and disappointment. But ultimately, I think it is a good example of being resilient and never settling until you find something that is really true to you. And actually, I decided to share my story because more and more clients that I serve, through my energy healing services or through my astrology readings, which, by the way, if you're new here, hi, my name is Katarina. I am an energy healer, yoga teacher, and astrologer. And a lot of people have been coming to me because they're going through like this huge identity crisis. Mind you, I'm 31 and I feel like lots of people around me are going through their Saturn return, which prompts a lot of self-reflection. If you don't know what Saturn return is, let me know in the comments and I'll reply to you. I can also even make a video about it eventually because mine hit pretty hard. But anyway, they've been coming to me with like a lot of existential doubts and really thinking about what it is that they want to do and what it is that and who they want to be, because I feel like we've all collectively been told a few lies, regarding how society works and what we should do to find happiness and be successful. And I think we've all come to the conclusion that actually, is it really that way, the path that we've been sold? And basically, because my path has been nothing but unconventional, and it's completely not linear, I thought that maybe, this could also help you if you are struggling with the same thing that many of my clients are, which is, identity and purpose. I digress. Let me start my story by taking you back to 2016, and this was a really important year to me because this was early 2016, so I was 22 and I had recently graduated my master's degree in business management. As a little bit of background, I was born in Lisbon, Portugal, and I basically did all my studies there. So I finished my master's degree in business management at one of the most prestigious business schools in Portugal, which is really funny, because when you apply to universities in Portugal, and especially if you want to continue or to study business management, there's basically like two schools, right, that are super popular. Everybody wants to get into them, and they really blow on their horns about how good it is and how amazing the programs are, and the levels of employment after are really, really good. Everybody finds a job, perfect. So at the time, I was super proud that I had studied in this university, and all I could do was like talk about how I went to this particular school, this particular business school. And I feel like I'm already giving you a little bit of a spoiler later, but anyway, I moved to London at 22. And as I was eventually applying for jobs in the corporate sector, I couldn't even find my school from the global universities that they were listing. And I thought that was so funny, because here you have them like blowing on their horns about how great they are, and they are not even listed on these job application formats, on these job application platforms. So it was a little bit of a reality check. Anyway, back to when I was 22. So I graduated my undergrad and my master's degree right after I finished my undergrad. So it's kind of a thing in Portugal to do a master's degree right after your undergrad, because actually your undergrad, sometimes it's just a little bit too short to give you, to prepare you really for the workplace. And so I finished my undergrad, and I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do, but I did not want to find a job in a big corporation. During my university studies, there was a period of time where I did kind of buy into the whole corporate career, and the status and the benefits and the pay. But by the end of my master's degree, I was really just disillusioned about all of it. It just didn't have meaning to me, because I had always been someone that was very worried about, or rather very motivated about causes and leaving the world a better place. And for me, corporations did the opposite of that. So I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my life at that point. And then growing up, my dream had always been to become an actor. I was a huge theater kid. I loved to sing, to dance. I had done a lot of like acting workshops and gone to like acting school after class. And I remember growing up and really begging my parents to just allow me to study acting and to go to like a high school that was already like very focused on the arts and the artistic space, so I could develop my skills. But in Portugal, and I'm sure this is true for many other countries, acting is not really seen as a decent job. It's not really seen as a job. And so my parents persuaded me to at least graduate like something or get a degree on something that could be practical, so I could fall back on it if the acting thing didn't work out. So I did that, and I don't think I could have done anything else really, because at the time you're fully dependent on your parents, and to be honest, I am grateful I did that, and I think that was absolutely the right decision. But this to say that as I was approaching the end of my master's, and basically the end of the deal, that end of the deal had been upheld, like as in I did study business management and I did graduate on something that would be quote unquote useful. I couldn't help but go back to my childhood dream and at least give it a try, because I felt like if I didn't give it a try, I would forever be wondering, what if? And the urge and the pull was just too strong. So I moved to London at 22 with no job prospects. I moved with my now husband. He was able to transfer companies, so he essentially kept his job moving to London, but I moved without anything, nothing. All I had was an acting workshop that I paid for with the savings that I had saved up for, my uni years. So I enrolled. I really enjoyed the course. I started going to auditions, but 6 months in, I couldn't do it anymore. I'd always been very sensitive, and I still am. I guess that's why I ended up becoming an energy healer. It's because people's emotions and moods can really affect me, and I can read them really easily. This also means that I'm very sensitive to criticism and to other people's opinions of me. And so that world was too harsh. Getting rejected or not even hearing anything back was devastating to me, and I really couldn't do it. I don't think I really believed in myself enough at the time to be able to continue. I think if I were to do that again, I would be in a different state of mind, and I would have continued for a little bit longer, but at the time I just couldn't. I also felt really guilty that my now husband was effectively handling all the bills and bearing like the financial burden of us both living in London. And so there was just a ton of things, in the back of my mind that really made me give that up and fall back on my corporate degree. So it was absolutely the right decision. And I got an internship at a major beauty company, which I think of it a bit like Devil Wears Prada, the film. It was crazy. It felt like I was walking right back into high school with like the cliques, the bullying that I saw. Thankfully, I don't think I was a victim of it, but it was crazy. And I thought to myself, this is not for me. I need to find something that really drives me, and that means something to me, to my heart. Because I wasn't really money driven, but I really wanted to do something with a positive impact. I stuck the majority of the internship out. Actually, it was one of the learning experiences that I cherish the most, actually, now, because it gave me a lot of tools. I grew up a lot. I grew in confidence. I became a lot more professional, and I made really good friends. One of them is still one of my closest girlfriends, and we're still in touch. And I'm incredibly grateful for the internship, actually. But at the end, towards the end of it, this was roughly, I think, like nine months internship. I was offered a few permanent positions to work for other teams, but in the same organization, and I considered them for a while. I'm not gonna lie. At the time, I had settled, but there was just a part of me that was still very dissatisfied with the whole environment and the fact that what I was doing was absolutely meaningless. If anything, I was just contributing to the crazy beauty standards that women face. So it's definitely not something I resonated with, even though I do care about skincare, as you probably can tell with all the steps of my skincare routine. But I do it for me, So anyway, I rejected these permanent roles in this beauty company, and I sent well over 100 applications to charities and NGOs. And then one contacted me for an interview. I interviewed with them, and I got offered the role, which was to be a fundraiser. And if you are, by the way, if you've ever considered working for the charity sector, the UK has a huge charity sector industry. So it's a job as it would be anywhere else. I know that in some countries this is not necessarily true because a lot of the roles are volunteer based, but not here in the UK. They're paid. And an easy way in is actually through fundraising, especially in my case because I did have the business management skills and I did have the sales skills to sort of back it up. So I started working with corporate partners and like companies that wanted to fundraise and contribute to a cause as part of their corporate social responsibility policy. What is going on here? Okay. So I got this job. I was super happy. I ended up actually staying in the charity sector as a corporate fundraiser for about 5 years. And in these 5 years, I moved organizations a few times because, again, I just cannot settle anywhere, okay? And as soon as I get bored or as soon as I see a red flag, I walk out. I've always been that way. Some people criticized me, the fact that I was, moving career so fast. But to be honest, in the charity sector especially, there is really no career progression. And often in many of these organizations, you have to leave to be able to be promoted at another organization, if that makes sense. But anyway, I was happy. My job was rewarding. Actually, being a corporate fundraiser, it's brought me a lot of joy. And I felt really accomplished. I had a great team, again, made some wonderful friends that I still have to this day, and that they've been absolutely instrumental to, this journey that I'm telling you about. And I was proposed to during my years at charity jobs. I bought a 1-bed flat with my husband, so everything was going well, except after some time I hit a ceiling. I was considering the step up and what would it look like for me to actually go for a promotion or the role above. And then I came to the realization that I actually wanted none of them. The managerial positions just sounded dreadful to me. The amount of politics that you would have to handle, the sheer amount of silly and pointless strategy calls and strategy sessions that you'd have to sit through. I couldn't see myself managing a team, to be honest, or dealing with everything that comes with having more responsibility, being responsible for other people, and then also needing to deal with the internal cliques and politics. So I wasn't really sure about what to do next, because what I thought would be my career, I actually didn't want to do it, and just thinking about it gave me the shivers, the bad ones. So I thought, and I talked to my partner about this. At the time we were planning our wedding. This was end of 2019. So what we thought was that we were going to get married in 2020. And we would then take a 3-month sabbatical, the both of us, to travel the world and just rest a little bit, see what we wanted to do next. And then when we came back, so in September 2020, I would be quitting and I would be starting my freelance career, and I would join my dad's business as a consultant, because he had a consultancy that I could join and work for him, as I also took some time to focus on my wellness business, or whatever it is that I wanted to do. So 2020 happens, and we know what happened in 2020. So the wedding plans obviously fell through, and our 3-month sabbatical also fell through. What didn't fall through was me quitting, and I did quit in September 2020. I started working for my dad, and I started focusing on my wellness business, which at the time was purely focused on teaching yoga classes online. I had been a yoga teacher at that time for a few years, And I just thought it was the answer, you know, because I'd practiced yoga for many years. Yoga had been really helpful to support me managing my anxiety, again, which is something that I can talk about as well in a future video, so let me know if you'd like to hear more about it. And so that seemed like the obvious answer to me, and I didn't have that many students. It wasn't really working as a side hustle at the time, but I thought that maybe that was because I lacked the time to, you know, promote it and do something really cool with it. And so I started, and for the first couple of years, I was still heavily focused on my dad's business. I think, you know, it was kind of the safe option. And yoga and the wellness business really, I guess, questioned my confidence and skills. And so for a few years, I put yoga to the side and the wellness business to the side because, you know, it was scary. It prompted me or forced me to face many things that I probably wasn't ready to face at the time. So I kept really focused on, you know, on just my dad's business. And, you know, I managed a small team, which again was something that I had said to myself I didn't want to do. But, you know, it was for my dad. It needed help. The consultancy was growing, which was really exciting. And, you know, maybe the experience of managing people would not be so bad because I was good with people. I'm empathetic and I can create connections easily. So, you know, it felt kind of natural to step into that role. But then as I tried more and more to expand my yoga business and my yoga classes, it just never worked for me. I felt like a huge failure because all my courses had absolutely no demand. I remember launching a few years ago a mentorship program that had like 0 signups after this bougie marketing campaign and strategy that I had put in, inspired by, you know, by this sort of mentoring course that I had enrolled that cost me like $2,000. So a complete, total, utter failure. My classes had like an average of like 3 to 4 students, if that, on a good week. So it was really not working for me and it was draining me. I was disappointed at myself, at my business, and I genuinely felt like a huge failure. And I guess it came to a point where I thought, okay, fair enough, you know, this is not working out, so something here needs to change and something here needs to give. And I faced like 2 options. The first option was to just, well, 3 options. So one option was just to go back to my corporate career and just go back to a charity and continue as if nothing had happened. The other option was to just focus more on my dad's business and just put my entire energy there and forget about yoga teaching. And then the third option would be to actually focus completely on yoga teaching, stop the excuses, and surrender to that entire experience and just leap and go with it. That would mean that I would have to reduce the hours that I was working with my dad. I would have to earn less money because I was no longer managing a team, and therefore I would have to adjust my salary accordingly. And it also implied that I would have to face every single one of my fears, including the fear of being seen, the fear of failure, and also, very importantly, the fear of success. Sorry, I just went to put on some clothes before we continue. So anyway, I came to this crossroads, you could say, and I decided to really give yoga a try and stop the excuses. And once again, it was a little bit of a moment of what if for me. You know, I don't think I would have been able to really get closure on this if I hadn't at least tried to make it successful seriously without running away and making excuses. So I reduced the hours that I was working for my dad. Thankfully, both him and my husband were incredibly supportive, and they agreed to support me, even if, I wasn't really contributing much to either of them. And this was 2023, and 2023, or halfway through actually, 2023 was basically when my healing journey properly started, and was also the year that I fully committed to do the inner work possible, or the inner work that I would need to do to make possible success. And fully booked yoga classes. And so I really turned within, and I worked through a lot of self-limiting beliefs. I worked through a lot of trauma. By the way, I will do a video just on this, because if I dive too deeper into this right now for this video, then this will be 2 hours long. So I'm gonna talk about my spiritual awakening journey and my healing journey on a separate video. So follow if you would like to see that, and don't miss that. But anyway, so this healing journey really took the rest of 2023 and the majority of 2024. And 2024 was a difficult year for me. It was a year of a lot of release and a lot of work to find what was authentic to me, what was true to me, and figure out what I wanted to do. Because I feel like up until a certain point, and this was true of my yoga classes and everything that I had done within my yoga teaching business, I was doing things because I thought other people wanted me to do them, because I thought I should do them, but not actually because I wanted to do them. And so 2024 was a breaking free year as such, and basically it was the first time that I put myself first, really, genuinely, seriously, and I just did everything that I wanted to do. And this meant going back to things that I loved doing as a child, but had avoid doing because I was afraid of what people would think. And this was studying astrology, which is something that I'm studying now. I am actually about to finish my foundational diploma in astrology, which I'm really excited about. Birth chart readings are one of my favorite things to do. It really helps you gain an understanding of yourself and your psyche and how you work effectively. And then I also started studying energy healing, and I did 3 certifications. One of them was shamanic healing, Akashic records reading and healing, and then also Metatron healing. And for me, especially these certifications were incredibly important because they gave me an immense amount of meaning. And if yoga had been satisfying and something that I did despite everything consider to be incredibly rewarding, especially when I see people walking out of my classes with a relieved smile on their faces, I think that's, one of the most beautiful things to see and be a witness of. But when I finished, the energy healing trainings, and I started then applying this to my colleagues and to my friends and people that signed up to my free sessions, so that I could build and practice my skills, I finally felt at home. I finally felt like this is what I meant to be doing. And it was such a mind-blowing moment for me, and when I think about it, I feel so much relief, because I feel like for the past 8 years or so, almost 9 years, I've just been going round and round in circles without really getting anywhere. And then finally, by following my heart, by reconnecting to things that I had loved to do as a child, that I was interested in as a child, I had finally found meaning and purpose. And perhaps when I say find purpose, I think the better word for it is I created purpose, because when you use the word find, it's a little bit passive. It's almost as if you're waiting for that, divine inspiration to strike. And it may strike, but it also may not strike. And so for me, it wasn't so much waiting, but experimenting, so I could finally create it, and so I could finally realize what it meant for me to be purposeful and to work in something that was meaningful to me and serve humanity in a way that I really enjoyed, and that really resonated with my entire self, mind, body, and spirit. And so I look back at 2024 and I just can't believe how much I grown. I remember early in the year, I had this big release, and I cried so much, just, about everything that I thought would have happened and didn't, and about all the things that I wished I had accomplished and didn't. And then I remember having this realization that I was more than just the yoga classes, and I was more than just my empty yoga classes, and I was more than just the courses that did not sell, and I was more than a yoga teacher. And I think I had finally reached the point where I was ready to explore what that meant for me and what more was. And this more led me to astrology, this more led me to energy healing. I'm 31 now. I am still starting as a healer and as an astrologer. I have still lots of learning to do. But for the first time in my life, what I do fills me with so much meaning that, to be honest, I don't care about anything else. I'm just happy that, and so incredibly grateful that I get to wake up every day and do something that really nourishes me on a profound level. I am lucky that my business is now growing, that I am getting bookings now, that people are, coming back and, messaging me about how I've helped or how my services really made a difference. And it just makes me think that everything was worth it. The tears, the disappointment, the frustration, the crazy Devil Wears Prada internship, the years in the charity world, and more importantly, all the failures that I faced when I was trying to build my yoga business. And this is it, guys. Hopefully this made some sense and this helped if you are considering changing careers, or if you are really struggling to find your purpose. Know that you can create it, and know that you are free to experiment, and that there are a lot more options than you might think. So thank you if you're still watching. Thank you so much for putting up with me yap for I don't know, about 30 minutes now, more. Subscribe to this channel if you like my energy, and if you'd like to get more of my content. I am filming a lot of guided meditations to access your Akashic records, to rewrite your Akashic records. I'm also going to be uploading energy healings for you to remove fears, to remove obstacles, all the things that I struggled with and that I talked a little bit more about in this video. I'm hoping to cover a bit more about astrology as well as soon as I finish my certification. And I also want to tell you a little bit more about my story in case it helps you. in case it shows you that if it's possible for me, it's possible for you too. So anyway, I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this video. If you have any feedback, please comment, like. It really helps my channel grow and my message to get out there. And yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you for another video. Bye.